Is Yooka-Laylee the game to revive 3D platformers and bring them back to the forefront of the industry once again? Or is it just another Kickstart failure? A few things should be noted before this review begins. Firstly, the version of Yooka-Laylee that I'm playing is on PC, so your experience with the game may be different on the consoles. I have a relatively powerful computer. If you're curious, I've posted my specs in the description if you wanted to compare with your computer. It should also be known that I've been playing 3D platformers my whole life. Heck, I speedrun Super Mario 64, so I'm already extremely adept to these types of games. I've also played a good amount of Banjo-Kazooie, which is important since this game is heavily inspired by that. I won't be spoiling anything major in terms of story, and I'll only show portions of each level. With that out of the way, let's get started. If you don't know the backstory behind Yooka-Laylee, this was a game created through Kickstarter and received over £2 million in funding, or roughly 2.6 million US dollars. This game got an insane amount of money because the team developing this title was mostly people that created the classic 90s 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Donkey Kong 64, and so on. With that in mind, this game is all about bringing back the 3D platformer, and that is exactly what you get out of this game. One of the biggest aspects of the older 3D platform games is collectibles. Yooka-Laylee is filled with them. The largest collectible are the quills. With these, you can buy brand new moves for your character. We'll talk more about the moves later on. The most important thing you'll collect are pages. These allow you to unlock all the worlds in the game as well as the final boss. There's also some harder to obtain collectibles that can earn you additional pages. This is where the game can get really challenging, as a lot of these are really well hidden. The Ghost Riders, as an example, all require different tactics to collect. There's several that I still haven't been able to get despite knowing where they are. The coins allow you to play arcade games through Rextro, and other collectibles will help you boost your character's health and stats overall. Simply exploring the levels and trying to find all this stuff is extremely rewarding because there's a payoff for everything you collect. None of the collectibles are meaningless. There's always a purpose and desire to explore. On top of that, you can also use tonics to enhance a specific attribute with your character. Tonics are unlocked by accomplishing certain goals like killing so many enemies, or collecting every pagey, or things along the lines of that. This is a small but great touch that was added. Now let's talk about the levels themselves. There's 5 in total, not including the hub world. Each place has a basic theme including jungle, ice, swamp, casino, and space, and they're very interesting. While not quite to the extent of, say, Breath of the Wild, once you've unlocked all your moves, you can pretty much go anywhere you want in these worlds without limitations. This creates a sense of freedom, and it's really immersive. There's lots of hidden entrances within each level that have hidden pages as well. However, the levels can sometimes feel quite empty. I generally feel this whenever I had to backtrack, which is something you'll need to do since some pages require specific moves and you can only get a few of these moves per world. Your first time playing through is always the most fun, but the levels feel drawn out over extended periods of time. There's also a few enemies that you can fight in the game, but they're pretty monotonous. Most of them die in 1 or 2 hits and don't really require strategy. Just use your tail whip and you'll kill them, no thinking required. It's a pretty minor complaint, but some sort of strategy to kill these guys may have helped the game feel more full. Except for those bees, they're the biggest pain in the neck to deal with. There's even bosses hidden in each level. The gimmicks required to beat them are pretty simple, so they're generally easy, until the 5th world. The thing is, they don't really feel like bosses, which is strange because they should. The bosses simply feel like another side mission. Thankfully, the final boss feels really special. I won't spoil it, but make sure you found as much extra health as you can. I'll also bring up the hub world because I love how rich and diverse it is. The hub itself is a bit too large for my tastes, but once you get near the end of the game, everything interconnects with each other and it's easy to make your way around. There's even pages in the hub too, and it's fun discovering how to collect them. So now that we've talked about what the game looks like and what it's all about, you might wonder, how well does it play? For the most part, the controls work well. Moving with Yooka feels very smooth and natural. The swimming, however, feels floaty and slippery. I don't know what it is, but the only 3D platforming game to ever get swimming controls down perfectly is Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Now, people have complained about the camera being really bad, and at times, it's extremely awkward. There's some places in the game where the camera just switches to a different angle without a smooth transition. But if you have experience with 3D platformers like I do, the camera works well enough. For someone that's never played a 3D platformer before, you may struggle at first. In terms of the moves you unlock through our pal Trouser, they're a hit or miss. I like that the moves don't completely suck at first and get better and better by the end. You actually get a few moves that are extremely useful right from the get-go, like the roll move. My problem with some of these moves is that not all of them are versatile and some of them just kinda feel slapped on. As an example, there's a move where you become invisible and security cameras can't see you. It works for that one type of scenario and that's basically it, making the move feel kind of useless. But then there's also moves like rolling, which lets you traverse steep hills as well as move faster. And of course, near the end of the game, you unlock the power to fly through the air, which feels so good considering you can even boost your height with it. Side note, it actually took me hours to realize I could boost my height with flying. Dumb on me for not even noticing that. Unfortunately, the rolling and flying controls feel a little slippery and require a bit of a learning curve to understand the physics and how they work. Since Yooka is a chameleon, he's also able to eat certain types of berries for different attacks, like an ice ball or bombs. He can even change his body type so that it's heavier or immune to fire and so on. You can mix and match these two types of abilities, which allows for some pretty creative puzzles. There's enough variety with the playstyle that keeps the gameplay fresh and exciting. Overall, I enjoy how the game plays, but it really needed some extra tweaking. In order to collect all the pages, what you'll primarily do is complete small missions for either a side character or a pagey in a cagey. And yes, the game calls cages cagies. Most of these missions are a lot of fun and take very little time to complete. However, some of them can be extremely frustrating to get through. One of the most annoying missions are all the minecart stages. The goal is to collect a certain amount of gems before the finish, but the controls are so wonky. It's obvious that they were going for a Donkey Kong Country type of playstyle, but the problem is when you try to gain or lose speed, it's really delayed and it only lasts for a minimum amount of time. It's really hard to describe, but you would understand if you tried playing it. As we brought up earlier, there's many arcade games that you can play that are found in each world. I found most of these arcade games to be really fun and actually feel like arcade titles. Before I talk about the visuals and animations, keep in mind that my gameplay on screen looks kind of grainy because my processor isn't very powerful and has trouble capturing smooth footage at a high quality. With that out of the way, this game is gorgeous. I really love seeing vibrant colors in games, and Yooka-Laylee is full of that. The textures and shadows all look fantastic, and I'm not even playing at the highest quality, because again, my processor isn't that great. The animations overall are pretty good, but there's a few things that look pretty funky. Whenever Yooka sticks out his tongue and doesn't grab anything, only his head bops forward. Something about that just looks bizarre. If you enjoyed Banjo-Kazooie music, then you'll really enjoy the pieces in this game. Admittedly, I didn't really like the music at first, but it grows on you after playing for a bit. A lot of the same instruments that were used for Banjo-Kazooie are used for these songs too, and it's a fun listen. All of the songs work harmoniously with the levels and even change slightly depending on your environment. So if you enter the water or a brand new section, the instruments slightly change. While I'm not going to talk about anything major in the plot, I have to say that I found the dialogue to be hilarious. Almost every character you interact with has a fun, quirky personality, and the game constantly breaks the fourth wall. Strangely enough, the only character that's boring is Yooka himself. Yooka feels really bland and vanilla. He's always just saying the right things in a good manner, while the other characters are much more varied. Just like in Banjo-Kazooie, every character makes noises when they're talking, and it's still as charming as it was in the old days. So the question is Yooka-Laylee worth purchasing for $40 as it stands right now? If you're a fan of Banjo-Kazooie or just enjoy 3D platformers in general, this is a must-buy, at least for PC. I couldn't recommend it enough if you're a fan of the old school collectibles. As for someone that's never played a 3D platformer, I would still give this game a chance, but maybe wait for a price drop if you really aren't sure. I'm almost positive that there will be patches to help fix the camera problems on console, plus there's supposed to be DLC coming later. I also want to thank Playtonic Games for giving me this review copy. I had a blast playing this. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Leave a comment and let me know what you think of Yooka-Laylee. Thanks a bunch for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.